Hey guys, so let me show you how to bring this model animated, um, with all actions, etc. within Spring, for the SpringRTS engine. So I go through the whole process. So first, let's just add the plugins. Go to Blender Preferences, and you can just install the plugin packages. You might have newer ones than these. So just select, install. Do the same for the skeleton. We're going to be using both. Skeleton script. Override. Done. Right, so if it worked as it should, you should get a skeleton tab here, and you should get export Spring object option here. All right, so I do recommend you have your objects filtered so you don't see the object contents, which is a bit too much, gets long-winded and all. So I usually delete that. And make sure the pivots are all set for whoever hasn't done a pivot assignment. It's very easy. So for instance, suppose you want the pivot for this guy to be here. You would move cursor in here. So you can hit tab and type cursor to select it. I have a shortcut for that. Okay, so you can also do it manually, but you'd have to use snapping and all of that. Not super comfortable. So just move to selection, then get back. Add mode, get back to object mode. And now you're going to move the center to the cursor. So it's center, origin actually, sorry. Origin to cursor. I use the same shortcut, so it's a very fast process where I just select the face, Alt F2, get back to object mode. I use X for that, the X key, and then origin to 3D cursor. So it's very fast. So as soon as you do that, you're gonna have the actual pivot point, not the temporary pivot point. That's the guy to be used by the Spring engine. That's the guy who's gonna show up Spring. So that's what you want. Right. One quick hint: if you're going to be using Maya, that did take me some time to figure out, since Miguel did these model. Actually, there are many models that did within Maya where it feels more comfortable, and I was not able to bring those pivot points correctly. All you have to do is select everything. Go to edit. I think it's modify. Modify, and then bake pivot. Make sure it's set to position orientation and click on bake pivot. Then you can export normally. Just export selection, whatever name, and it's within options. I usually use FBX 2018. All right, this should work flawlessly when I bring it in Blender. Okay, so now in Blender, what we want to do is make sure this guy is exported properly first. You don't really have to select anything. You just have to make sure you're in the proper collection. You might have multiple and you just want to export this guy. So of course you can add new collections if you want to organize your stuff. Like, oh, I don't want to export this piece, but I want to keep this within the Blender file. Just use a separate collection. So whatever collection is highlighted here, that's the one that will be used. Like the exporter will search for the root, which is basically the piece which has no parent. And you should definitely not have more than one. All right. If you want to export the height settings and all of that, you should bring in the pieces from another file, or you can just use the importer for that. There's also the importer, the link I'm gonna put in the video on GitHub. You can also import using Spring UI, okay? Something that you have already built within, or set the dimensions within Upspring. Of course, I already have a template for that. I should probably share it in a repository for whoever wants it, but yeah, I would just append this guy, and this is the guy. I usually don't touch that. I just do append, and then you go to collection and select the collection there. All right, so you're gonna have this collection within the collection. Yeah, so this is, I haven't actually tested collections within collections, so I just move it over to kernel lab and get rid of this guy. Okay, so yeah, this is the find height and find radius. The radius should be bigger than the collider. So if you're using a box collider, seen from the top, this should be able to encompass the entire box collider, which is not the case right now. So let's just increase this. Come here to the object data properties, and you can set the size of it and make sure it's, you know, it's covering the potential corners that you, you know, is going to be the size of the factory. Of course, you can have rectangular sizes, etc. But yeah, it's no big deal. Just get a little bit bigger. All right, you can tweak that within Upspring later if you want. Spring height is very similar. The difference that the size here is actually just used for display purposes. It's not, the height is defined from the base, which is the 0, the whole 0, to where this guy is placed. So just, you know, move it to the top. I thought this guy was useless until I realized it's got something to do with line of sight calculations for units coming from underwater. So it is actually important in some apps. So make sure you set this right. Okay, well, so what do you do now? Like I said, as long as you're within the proper collection, make sure you have just one root object in that collection. These ones are ignored. Well, they not for the spring height and spring radius setting up, of course, but in terms of actual pieces of the geometry. So yeah, let's save it. Oh yeah, this is very important. Always save before exporting. Exporting is a destructive operation. So make sure that after you export, you don't save, or else you're gonna lose the quads. So you see those guys, you know, they're all quads and stuff. After export, you usually want to have them triangulated. So export Spring object. I put them, for now, we should just put them on, well, maybe kernel lab font.blend. Looks good enough. Put in my, actually, I should put in my game folder. Not you. Yeah. Kernel lab. So apply modifiers. Usually want that. It's no harm if you have no modifiers, no big deal. Selection only, not needed unless you want to export just, you know, a branch. Then you select the everything. You can shift click to expand and select entire branch, and then selection only. But usually you'll want to export everything in that collection and convert quads to triangles. Like I said, it's very important. Upspring will not understand anything other than triangles. Right? Well, at least I had problems trying to use quads there. It does support quads, but because of 3DO, of course. But I had trouble not using triangles, so just stick to that. Let me copy this path and export it. As you see, triangulated. So let's see within Upspring what happens. Just load model, paste the path, and that'll be kernel lab. That's real. Oh, so yeah, it didn't export everything. Let's see. Actually, the objects are here, but oh, I think I know what's wrong. I forgot to apply. That's why it's save. Yeah, let me reopen this. I want, try to go from here. I just get back to the previous point. And that's actually very important. You have to apply the scale. That's why the pieces were there, but the scale was so small. Because I forgot to apply the scale rotation. So many times you get things like this, some pieces unrotated, some of them are rotated, and that's gonna break it for Upspring. So yeah, you can right click, select hierarchy, and here you can see all the pivot points. They're set correctly. And yeah, you want to do the apply rotation and scale. Do not apply location. You need to keep location where it is, like those numbers. Don't touch it. Rotation and scale. See if it did it for everything. Yep. One of those nice operations which apply for everything that's selected. Unfortunately, that's not always the case in Blender. So I didn't export yet, so let's do it again. And run the export again. Paste the path, kernel lab, it's 3.0, blah, 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 yep. Export. Right, triangulated. Now back to Upspring, and I didn't need to, but yeah, there you go. So to check if everything is right, make sure to go to mapping. You want to load texture 1 and texture 2 obviously. So mine are then here. It's like tab. This is kern, so it's texture 2. Bow is texture 1. 3 is the secondary texture. So texture 2 here, and texture 3 will be here. Yeah, so you can see the reflections. You can try different theme colors if you want. Right? And yeah, that's perfect. As expected. Great. Of course, you can, visually inspect to see if the pivots are in place. That's very important that they're all, well, they should be, or else the animation will not match from when you export from Blender to the game engine. Of course, you can, play with the pieces a little bit just to, oh yeah, it's all right. Great. Okay, so our lab is fine. Make sure to save this guy. And if you're using the ambient occlusion shaders that Ivan did, which I do, you're gonna want to get the S3O OBJ to S3O, which is available elsewhere. Let's see if I drop a link for you guys on the video too. This is not mine, that's from Barrett. Amazing tool. You need to have XNormal installed. It is a free program. So no excuse not get it. Usually I will explode everything. Many times I try to not explode the base for factories, but it didn't work so well within the game. This part got too dark and things like that. So usually I just blow it all up. Blowing up means that the pieces are going to be scattered, spread out one from the other. So the shadows won't occlude parts which are going to be opening and closing, So for instance, this cap here, it opens, and then you would see shadows baked in the shader, not the texture, but the shader. So it's usually not a great move. But yeah, just test it out, see what works for you. Many times you can get success from separating just a couple parts. I had success with defenses, not separating everything. Anyways, here's going to be a kernel lab. So all the piece names are here. You can remove some, like base, like I said, but I just make sure everything is scattered. And I'll bake vertex AO. And I'm gonna select the file again. And here you're gonna see the magic running on the backstage. X normal will be automatically ran. A couple extra files will be added, OVB, etc., but it's no big deal. You can just not commit them to the repository later. All right, files are done. So it's ready to be used in game. So I'll pause as I just update the name of the kernel lab model and export it so we check it in game. Of course, the script will not be there yet. Okay, so I have already edited the object name for lab to use the new model. I did not edit the script right now, so obviously this is gonna give me errors and I instantiate the model, but that's the second part. So I give a model, the object's gonna show up as upside down. This happens sometimes for Mali. Yeah, I have to fix this. It's just a case of rotating this guy, the base, so it points the other way around. So I'll probably just do Y rotation 180 and apply. Yeah, I'll probably apply transform entirely. Okay, and this should do. Cool. Saving the model. So, what we want to do next is definitely the actual animation. So let's do it. I quit this now. Back to Blender. Yeah. So let's open I have a reference animation file, and I'll bring in this kernel lab file. It's stored here. I already have this created, so I'm going to delete it first.